Ready? This one's easy. Warhammer Chaosbane should not even be a game. Just definitely shouldn't. Should not be a game at all. They just cashed in on the Warhammer name. Tile sets were so monotonous, even during the campaign. Its story was at best, but it wasn't helped by the fact that there were like 4 tile sets for the entire game, and that continued into endgame, so there technically wasn't even an endgame. It was an absolute piece of crap, as an honest opinion. It was just bad. It was the worst game I have ever played, and I played ET on the Atari, and Chaosbane might be worse. It was definitely not a game that I liked. It was so boring and monotonous right from the beginning. Like each act, they were all the same tile set, just slightly different. It has XP and gold, find DLC. Oh yeah, and then it had DLC at launch that actually, you know, was kind of it wasn't super game changing, but some things did give you more XP, some things gave you more gold find, etc. So yeah, that was definitely the worst action role-playing game I've ever played. Let's go with Immortal. Now, I would put this here. I would put it in the F tier as well, except I thought that Immortal was at least fun and had some systems that I wish had been pulled over into Diablo 4. So we're going to put Diablo Immortal right here in the D tier. Now, Diablo Immortal was very, very pay to win. Can't stand that. I think that's garbage. It had a horrible monetization thing, but it was a mobile game, so that was sort of to be expected. If you didn't go into it expecting that, you definitely haven't seen a mobile game before, so probably shouldn't have played it, you know? But I think that the big problem that Immortal had was, yeah, it was very predatory. But a lot of them do predatory things in one way or the other. But we won't get into like semantics. I do think that, you know, PoE also preys upon that, you know, FOMO, that fear of missing out. But there's no game-changing aspect to it. So that part I can sort of forgive, and they're definitely not as predatory as, you know, Immortal was. I don't know if D4 is getting to that point, but it does have some things as far as cosmetics. It's definitely not pay to win with D4, which thankfully they said that'll never happen. But Immortal could have been good if they kept all that shit out. Yeah, but it's not just a horse. Like, I agree that it's extremely expensive and that's the only way to get the horse, but you are also getting $70 worth of, you know, cosmetics with it. But I get your point. I agree that, you know, that's obscene. It should just be a free horse if you buy any currency, if they want to do it that way or whatever. I mean, I disagree with tying anything major behind paid microtransactions, but it's not a game-changing thing. It's just cosmetics. So, no, it wasn't just a horse. It was a horse and $70 worth of their currency, to the best of my knowledge, for the expensive one. Or do you mean just their normal $20 horses? Because yeah, that exists, and that I agree with. But then cosmetics are the same in Path of Exile when it comes to you know, pricing. Some of them get expensive, but they run sales, which is another aspect of FOMO. But Diablo Immortal, I'll put in D tier just because it had some fun stuff. I wouldn't purchase anything in it, but it had some fun stuff, and it could go better if it didn't have the monetization model that it has. But it's never going to reach, you know, S, A, or B tier ever. PoE 2 does look amazing. I can't wait for that to come out. That is definitely a game I'm looking forward to. Diablo 2. Diablo 2 is S tier. But stars, when it came out, so not now. I couldn't see myself playing Diablo 2 now. I get the nostalgia. I get that people do enjoy that. But for me, Immortal's down here. Immortal's down here. It's only... It would be F if Chaosbane didn't exist. But it's in D tier. And actually, let's make that, let's fill that black. Okay. So Diablo 2, when it came out, goes into S tier. But now I would put it B, oops. Let's leave that there. We put it a solid B tier. It's still a solid game, but I wouldn't put it in S tier now. I would back when it first came out. Okay. Now, Grim Dawn. Grim Dawn. Grim Dawn goes into C tier. I might need more in C tier. Now, that's not to say that Grim Dawn's a bad game. I just couldn't truly get into it. I didn't care about the story. I didn't care about the game itself for the most part. I liked some things that Grim Dawn did, and I like playing it with friends, but if I was playing it solo, that wouldn't happen. There would be no reason for me to load up Grim Dawn and play it by myself. If I was playing with friends, yes, I would play this game. I think it is a very solid aRPG. I definitely think it's worth mentioning. I had fun playing it, but I played with my brother, I played with Draves, and we had a blast. But I couldn't see myself playing that game solo because there wasn't anything to catch my attention enough for it. EverQuest, I never played EverQuest. There could be more than one in F tier, lol. There could be. We could put... It's just that I found some things of Immortal fun. You know? It's dog shit monetization, but I found some things with Immortal fun. I had a blast playing with people. I had fun. Otherwise, you know, that's its one saving grace is I had fun playing it. Which is what games should be. It's just that it was pay to win and you weren't going to get far without it. But for the little bit that I did play it, I had a blast. Diablo 2 Resurrected. B tier, right along Diablo 2. Actually, I would say that we gotta move these two. Because I think this is the better of the games. Do we put Diablo 2 Resurrected A tier? Do we? I don't know. You know what? Do we move it up here? I think we do. Because I had a lot of fun with Resurrected. It looks better. Plays the same as Diablo 2 for the most part. But looks better in its updated graphics, which makes you forget that you're, you know, playing a well over 20-year-old game, and they did a really good job with it. I do still think that Diablo 2 Resurrected is one of the better aRPGs out there. For now, we'll keep it in A tier. Diablo 2, nowadays B tier, but that's just for looks. It's still a solid game. When it first came out, it was S tier, period. Because it's the godfather of all aRPGs. Now, Diablo 3. I might get some shit about this, but Diablo 3 is going into B tier. Because I loved that game. Absolutely loved Diablo 3. I have well over 5,000 hours in the game. I wouldn't have that many hours if I didn't enjoy it. It had its issues for sure. But pretty solid game. It lacked, end game, but it's also a pretty old game as well. So I don't expect it to compete with those that are actively being developed, like Path of Exile, D4, Last Epoch, and stuff like that. Do we do Last Epoch now, with it coming out soon? Now, this is just based off of alpha. Okay, so obviously I haven't played 1.0 yet. I agree with that, Cat. D3 got better after the expansion pack. With the Necro and stuff like that. So Last Epoch, this is strictly based off of alpha, because the game releases Wednesday. But even still, I'm going to put that in A tier, because I do think that is a pretty solid game. I have several hundred hours into it, and I'm enjoying it. I haven't played it in a while, because D4 came out, Path of Exile Leagues. I really enjoy Path of Exile. So I would put that in A tier. Wolcen, Lords of Mayhem. This game could have been something. It looks amazing. It played fairly smooth, but it was broken on release. So unfortunately, that is going down in D tier. It is better than Immortal, strictly because of Immortal's monetization. As far as fun goes, I'd call them both about the same amount of fun. Wolcen just lacked something to do, and the builds in the game either didn't work broken or were super OP broken, and the game shouldn't have released. But unfortunately, it had already been in development for like 7 years before its release, and then it got so much coverage, which is what I'm hoping doesn't happen to Last Epoch. But it got so much coverage that everything, too many people bought the game and it broke, and they couldn't keep up. But I don't even think they work on the game anymore. I don't think they post about the game anymore. It could have been something, but unfortunately, it never came to fruition, which sucks, because I think that they had a solid basis, but they should have worked a little bit harder on it. And they should have made sure that it was polished before releasing it. They definitely should have worked harder to get it out in a timely manner. Last Epoch did it. Last Epoch's fun during the alpha. So, it should be a good launch, hopefully. Hopefully everything goes smooth for that company. I wish them the best of luck for Last Epoch, but Wolcen could have been something, and it just isn't. And it sucks that there wasn't that other one more aRPG that stood out. Let's do it. Let's do Diablo 4. Speaking of another game that should have been better, I don't think Diablo 4 sucks, but I don't think it can compete with the others. Personally, I would put... I don't want to do this. Is Diablo 4 C tier? I love Blizzard, and I love the Diablo franchise, but until Diablo 4 improves, and I do think that it should improve at some point in the future, it's just not there yet. Diablo 4 D tier? Ooh. Down with these two? I don't think so. I think it's better than Grim Dawn. I would actually probably put Grim Dawn over here, although Grim Dawn, for me, like I said, was just hard to get into. I would say Diablo 4 C tier. It just needs more to do and slightly more complexity. I'm not asking for PoE complexity. You know, I'm asking for slightly more build diversity. High C, low B. Agreed. I think it's the top of C, maybe low B. Maybe it could go over here. Yeah, I'd put it, you know what? Do I think that? Let's move it up to end of B. I think Diablo 3, I would have more fun playing than Diablo 4 right now. If I had to pick one, I would play D3. But I think Diablo 4 still has the potential to become S tier. Absolutely. If they can focus on, you know, adding stuff to the game. And I just have a problem with the itemization, but that's supposedly getting reworked, so that would be great. I have a problem with the end game systems, but hopefully that's something that can be done. I think Season 2 was great. I had a lot of fun with it. I do think that Season 2 was pretty solid for Diablo 4. It brought me back, and I definitely enjoyed myself with the whole vampire thing and all that. I never played Titan Quest. I also haven't played any of the Torchlight series, so unfortunately they don't get a nod here. I did play Pagan Online, but that was very short-lived. That game was fairly cool, but it had only WASD movement, and then you use your mouse to fire your skills certain ways, so you also had to click. It was weird for me. I can't play with WASD for movement. I just literally can't. And I never played Diablo 1, unfortunately. Played Diablo 2 way back. I mean, way back when it came out and stuff like that. I played Diablo 2 for quite a while, but not D1. I think Diablo 4 still has potential, but it's a Blizzard game, and we shouldn't be waiting for potential. I think that the campaign in Diablo 4 is amazing, like I've said before tonight during the stream. If you're going to pick up Diablo 4, definitely play through the campaign because it is good. It is Blizzard quality good. The cinematics are great. The voice acting's great. The storyline's good. And I think it's got some solid stuff going for it. The graphics are amazing. The game feels, you know, weighty. Your skills seem to have an impact and stuff like that for the most part. And I think that it can become one of the best aRPGs ever, but it needs some work. And it needs that work in itemization and endgame. I think that their whole damage bucket system was horribly implemented because it forced you to look for certain stats. So what's the point of the other affixes? They're just filler, and I don't like filler affixes on gear. There needs to be a reason. You should be able to build around the affixes on a piece of gear, you know? So like if it's damage near close enemies. You should be able to build your character around that. Not need to worry just about, you know, vulnerability, crit, stuff like that. When the game first launched, that's what it was. You were forced into certain affixes on your gear, or your gear wasn't gonna be good. It also needs more skill diversity, in my opinion. Definitely, I wish the one thing that it had learned from Diablo Immortal was adding things that really changed up your build. That's one thing I loved about Immortal, was it's the way that certain legendaries would completely change the play style of your build. Exploding Palm, for instance, in Diablo Immortal, you would normally just punch and apply your Exploding Palm, but you could get certain legendary affixes that would instead launch you up into the air and slam down to apply your Exploding Palm on everybody, you know? And Diablo 4 just has too many cooldowns as well. Make us have to worry about mana, you know, whether that's mana regen or spirit regen, whatever it is, rage generation. Get rid of all the cooldown stuff. You know, maybe not all of them. Your ultimates can still be on cooldown, but the rest of it, you have to manage your resources, which would be so much better than the current system of, you know, 40 to 60% of your skills are on cooldown at any given time, you know, and it's hard to make builds based around those items if they're always on cooldown, or those skills if they're always on cooldown. So last one, Path of Exile goes into S tier for me. This is a personal opinion, but Path of Exile truly, to me, is the best aRPG currently out there. Last Epoch has a chance to dethrone it, but we'll see what they do post-launch. Path of Exile has also had, geez, how many years has PoE been out? I've been playing it for about 6 or 7 years, so I don't even know. When did Path of Exile? It is 10 plus years. So they've had a long time to develop the game. Diablo 4 hasn't had that much time. Path of Exile wasn't as good as it is now 5 years ago. It was still pretty fun, but it definitely wasn't as good as it is now. And it definitely wasn't as good as it was this season in Path of Exile. I think we're all going to get into have a very rude awakening once the next season comes out for PoE, because this season was wicked fun, but they've had all that time to develop it, and hopefully Last Epoch will be able to do the same thing and expand on the game post-launch. I think it's going to be a very solid launch. I don't know how well they're going to do server-wise. Hopefully it's not a game where, you know, everything crashes. I do wish them luck, but I am looking forward to Last Epoch's launch. I will be playing it. I will be streaming it for sure. But yeah, I think Path of Exile definitely takes the S tier for me. And Diablo 2, when it first came out, for sure. A tier, Diablo 2 Resurrected, Last Epoch. B tier, Diablo 2 now, like same Diablo 2, but nowadays I would put in B tier along with Diablo 3 and Diablo 4. C tier, Grim Dawn. D tier, Wolcen, Lords of Mayhem, and Diablo Immortal, which is only in D because it was fun for me. I had fun playing with friends, and some of the interactions with legendary affixes and stuff like that was good, but its monetization sucked. So that's the only reason that it was in D tier, because I had fun. And F tier, nobody should ever buy Warhammer Chaosbane because it is complete dog shit. There you go.